The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 468 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Are you friends with George Lucas? Like, there's a little piece of me that says yes, even though I know that's insane. And I think that's what keeps it going, is like, when we're up on that stage, we're having a good time.
Howard the Duck!
Would not envy the guy who had to get into that costume every week for the
I'll
show.
do it.
We found out you legally cannot dye someone's beard professionally in the state of New York.
George Lucas, Indiana Jones, and snakes on a plane.
Oh, there you go.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland.
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets loud.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never Land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! What was the last good documentary you watched, or the last comedy special you saw? What if you combine them both into something so powerful only George Lucas could be at the helm? Well, if you're at the edge of your seat, then push back for a few moments, because right now, we want to welcome you back to
Skywalking Through Neverland.
I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife Sarah, who like me is very proud of our new studio display.
Yeah! If you're watching live on YouTube right now, you'll see that our backdrop has changed. We've added some IKEA props to...
IKEA props?
Well, IKEA stuff.
Shelving
to facilitate our new props back there, our new helmets.
Yeah, you see over here we have
Bo-Katan,
Captain Rex,
mm-hmm.
Mandalorian, and if I tilt the camera up, you'll see Darth Vader. I always wanted the helmets to be in our background because the background we had was so small, couldn't really see anything. These helmets just scream.
Yeah.
Look at me.
They're so cool. And I mean, you can still see our little Ewok back here. Yeah, we've changed our whole backdrop this year. This is exciting.
Yeah. Well, I love it when you can see because when we have some guests on, they'll say, oh, hold on one second, I'm checking out your background. It's like, is that a Wicket over there? Is Wicket wearing a Jar Jar Binks hat?
Even our round tables, the press round tables, sometimes I think Diana Lee Innocenta was like, oh, yeah, you guys look cool.
Same with D. Bradley Baker. He's like, hey, can I come over and play?
Yes. Oh. Skywalkers, we are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, and pop culture fandom. So it's time for your weekly Wookiee hug. And your little sprinkle of pixie dust for our family of Skywalkers. And we are live on the Skywalking Through Neverland YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. And let's see, what did we ask for last week?
Last week we asked for everyone to get us to 8930, that's where it is right now.
Exactly.
Yes.
8,930 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could get the 8,940 subscribers by next week, I know it's a lot. I know.
Let's
we
not
can do
push it and maybe say 35.
35? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stacy's saying almost 9K. Yes, we're trying to get there.
All right, check it out.
Oh, look at that. Very exciting. Yay.
Yeah, so, 8935. This is the best way we can get subscribers. You ask.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
Very, very true. In this episode, we speak with Patrick Cotnoir. He's the co-producer of the new documentary, I'm George Lucas, a Connor Ratliff Story. This documents behind the scenes of the hilarious George Lucas talk show, which you can see live or on YouTube. And it's always great speaking with someone who has just as much love and respect for George Lucas and the Star Wars saga, all parts of it.
Yeah, so those in the Sky Chat, do we know of the George Lucas talk show?
Yeah.
If you've seen it, let us know. Okay?
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, so if you're a big fan of the talk show, you're going to love this new documentary.
And if you don't know about it, like we didn't know about it, we watched the documentary and we were hooked. We're like, oh, okay, this is a cool show.
Yeah. So the documentary goes up tomorrow, June 11th, on Video on Demand. All right, now we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency that can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world and on a Disney cruise. And best of all, this service is free of charge. So head over there to smallworldvacations.com and ask for a no-obligation price quote and tell them Skywalking through Neverland sent you.
Now, we are recording this episode from Long Beach, California on June 10th, 2024. So, Richard, resident historian, what happened today in Star Wars history?
Well, on this date, June 10th, 1997, 27 years ago, Carrie Fisher finally presents Chewbacca with the Lifetime Achievement Award at the MTV Movie Awards.
Wait a minute, don't tell me. Does he get his medal?
He gets his medal. Chewbacca gets a medal. So Carrie Fisher insisted that Peter Mayhew be in the Chewbacca costume for this presentation, and he is. So you have Leia and you have Chewbacca. At long last, Carrie Fisher gets to place the medal around Chewie's neck.
Aww.
20 years we've been waiting for this, and it finally happened, and it only took MTV to do it.
So it is my great pleasure and privilege to present this Lifetime Achievement Award to my friend, co-star, and giant in this industry, Chewbacca.
This is the year after I had worked on the MTV Movie Awards.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I wished I could have been there.
1997, okay.
Yeah. It wasn't that fun, so I didn't ask to come back.
Okay.
But had I known this...
What did you do?
I worked for the post-production team that did all the roll-in packages.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
so once again, okay, now let's roll into this and roll into that, and movie clips and such.
Nice.
But, oh my, I was 1 year off. Not only was I 1 year off from seeing Carrie Fisher, but from seeing Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca.
And
because really, that is seeing the closest thing you'll ever see to the real Chewbacca.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
But you know what? We just have to revel in the fact that Chewie finally gets his medal, okay? It's not about me. It's about Chewbacca. And Carrie Fisher.
Yes. Our princess.
Yes. All right, now let's speak with Patrick Cotnoir and find out what George Lucas would be like as a talk show host.
What is the George Lucas talk show? It is important. Fundamentally, it is a talk show that George Lucas hosts.
So Connor plays George Lucas.
And John, you're also an author.
That's true. You're also an author.
Yeah.
Who would you say your favorite talk show host is? Is it David Letterman, Conan O'Brien, Oprah Winfrey? Well, there's one more to consider, George Lucas. The George Lucas talk show is hosted by comedian and superfan Connor Ratliff and can be seen live all over the world.
Now, fans can see behind the scenes of this comedy show in the new documentary, I'm George Lucas, a Connor Ratliff Story, which premieres on Video on Demand starting June 11th. And here with us now is producer Patrick Cotnoir. Hey, Patrick!
Hello. How are you?
We are doing good, and we are in a good mood because we've been watching the George Lucas talk show for the last, 96 hours.
What an insane way to spend a few days.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
And we saw the documentary, and it's so heartfelt. You just want to give Connor a big Wookiee hug after seeing what he puts himself through. Now, for those who don't know about the George Lucas talk show, tell us about the show and your involvement.
Yeah, it's a talk show that started at the UCB Theater in New York City 10 years ago, 2014. And Connor plays George Lucas. We treat it as if it's a regular talk show, a la all those names that you named up top, except one that happens to be hosted by retired filmmaker, 80-year-old George Lucas.
Hello, I'm George Lucas, creator of Star Wars.
Famously a charismatic and people-loving person, you know? Look, I say that with all the love in my heart, as I'm sure you can tell by all the hours you've consumed of George Lucas content at this point. His sidekick is Watto, sort of the Ed McMahon type. I was producing and booking it for a very long time, and then during COVID, when it became a live stream show that we were doing weekly during COVID for far too long at a time. Sometimes it'd be 20 hours. It was an insane undertaking. I became an on-screen co-host as well. So I've been, working on it for a very, very long time, but people seem to enjoy it. So we like that we're still doing it,
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, something that grows. That's great. Now, Connor's sidekick characters in the beginning, they started with Jar Jar Binks, and then they moved on to Watto. So this is like a heavy prequel focus. Now, this is back in 2014, a time when the prequels were still looked upon, but not by us, as unfavorable. So what was the reasoning behind including these particular characters?
Yeah, I mean, I think, at least obviously real George, but also Connor's George. I think when I refer to Connor's George, I'll just call him George. When I refer to real George, I will call him real George from now on. Real George obviously has a lot of love for the prequels. He put so much time and heart and soul into those movies, and it really took up a lot of his life. And Connor's George, also adopted that mentality of like, he's always in George's corner. He's always in real George's corner when he's playing that character. He always wants to like have him come out as the good guy, and he's on the right side of things, which is, in our opinion, usually true. Like, he's usually the guy who's doing the right thing for the filmmaking industry, for Star Wars as a whole. He's the guy, and I think, look, we love those characters. We love those movies to varying degrees of the three of us, but Jar Jar felt like the comedy character that could be included in that show in the beginning. Like, he was the most overtly comedic, at least, this is pre-Disney films and TV and everything. He was the most overtly comedic character. So it just felt like if you're going to have someone be funny, you might as well have the guy who was created to be funny on that show. And we knew Sean Diston, who played Jar Jar, could handle that role and could really like embody and create sort of a new version of Jar Jar that could last for more time than he's on screen. When you think about how much time Jar Jar is actually on screen, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe, if you add it all up, something like that, which is less than the length of one talk show, Mm-hmm. And Watto even less. Watto's probably on screen for 10 minutes, when you add it all up. So we've done so much more Watto content with us than they ever did Watto content in real Star Wars. And when Sean moved to LA, like they talk about in the documentary, Griffin Newman, who plays Watto, had been doing a Watto impression in real life and on his podcast Blank Check, and so went to Connor and said, like, this feels like a natural evolution from Jar Jar, another weird CGI character from the George oeuvre that could fit into this world. So I'm happy you did it. I don't know, if Griffin ever left, I don't know what the next sidekick would be. Like, I don't know. I don't think
Grogu
is going to leave anytime soon. It could be Grogu. Grogu's not very talkative, though.
No.
It's tough to get a little, stuff out of Grogu, but maybe something Mando focused, but also, George didn't work on Mando, so.
Oh, that's true.
It's, it's a game.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the
right
Duck.
there.
I mean, I would love it. Would love it. Give me
Yeah.
that. Would not envy the guy who had to get into that costume every week for the
I'll
show.
do it. I'll do it. I am so there for that. So the show has had a lot of heavy hitters over the last couple of years. There's like, what, 3 or 4 guests per episode? You've had Whoopi Goldberg and even Oprah Winfrey, who are outside
not
of
Oprah, but we had Whoopi, we had Seth Meyers, we had Weird Al. I wish Oprah. Give me Oprah. Put Oprah on the show.
I thought I read somewhere that you had Oprah on the show at one time.
God, I would love it. No, but we Whoopi,
darn internet.
Darn internet ruins everything. But Seth Meyers, Weird Al, Ahmed Best was on.
Oh yeah.
We just had the cast of Severance, which is a great show. They were just on one of our more recent shows.
Were they fighting the whole time?
I mean, a little bit. Actually, a little bit. There's some interpersonal drama there.
Did it come with a disclaimer about the language?
Yes. yes. Yeah. But we, and we've had a bunch of Star Wars people on too, which is nice. Like, it's weird having actual people who have worked with George and know George on the show,
Yeah.
Getting to see how they treat fake George is always fun.
Now, before seeing the George Lucas talk show on YouTube, we were very apprehensive about how Connor would portray George.
Sure.
Was this
Totally.
just another way to make fun of him? But that is so not the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Do people who come into the show, do they expect that? Or do they know that Connor and the team have such respect and love for George?
Yeah, I think, I don't want to say we never poke fun at him, because that's not true. Like, there are the
In a very
occasional
respectful way.
In a very respectful way, because we love the guy and we love all the things that he's done for entertainment and the world and, all that. But I think people who know Connor or know Griffin or I know that we're doing it from a place of, we like the guy and we want to put on a good show. And I think dumping on him would not make for a fun or entertaining show, no matter what the internet would want you to believe, maybe. But we've also been doing it for so long that at this point, and have had so many people that have worked with him, that I think, if I'm pitching the show to someone who, used to be a visual effects guy or whatever at ILM, if I show them the names of the people who have done it, it's an easier sell, because they're like, well, if Whoopi did it, am I better than Whoopi? Should I say no, even though, Ahmed Best was on? Like, it's definitely easier to sell it to people now that we have had a lot of big names on.
Yeah, for sure. And when I saw Connor's satin Howard the Duck jacket, I thought, okay, this is my kind of guy.
He fell in love. He really did.
I get it. He bought that. He bought that probably 8 years ago on eBay, and he had a price in his mind. He said, "This is my ceiling," And in the last 5 minutes, someone was outbidding him a lot. And he said he learned a lot about himself in those last 5 minutes, that maybe his ceiling is not really his ceiling. And at the time, it was it was like $250 maybe he spent on it. And at the time, he was like, geez, like, that's a lot of money for this. But now when you break down how many hours he has worn that on the show, it's like pennies for how much, pennies per hour is what it costs, which ultimately, makes it worth it.
Yeah, and it's heavily featured in the documentary, which now the documentary is out June 11th on video on demand. Now, this has been in the works for 5 years. So we really want to know, what was the goal when you first started making it? And did that goal change over the years, as documentaries sometimes do?
Yeah, I mean, we were not the people behind the documentary. People came to us. I'm a co-producer on the documentary, because I was the go-between between the show and the doc. If they had things they needed from the show or questions or needed me to put them in contact with people, I was that. So that's why I'm a co-producer. And a lot of the archival footage that you see of the old shows, I had filmed just for our own, records. But these guys, Ryan Jacoby and Marsh Chamberlain, they're 2 filmmakers in the New York area, or at least they were 5 years ago. They've since moved further away because of lockdown and everything. They came to us in late 2018 and they said, we want to film a show. We just want to professionally film a show. We like the show and we want there to be a record of it online, because we were not uploading full shows onto the internet at that point. It was purely if you're there in person, you get to see it. If you're not, so sorry you missed it. And we said, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. And then they came back and they were like, well, what if we did like a short behind the scenes of the show where you're actually George putting on a show a la like Larry Sanders or 30 Rock or something like that. And you see what goes into George Lucas making a talk show. And Connor was like, that's a lot of work. Like, to make that funny is going to take a lot out of us. And what we would get out of it would probably not be worth the effort that it took to actually go through and, act like George in a writer's room or whatever it was going to be. So Connor said to them, well, what if you do a short documentary, a real documentary about the making of the show? They said, great. So we did a Kickstarter. They shot for over a year. And they were like, yeah, this will probably be like 20 minutes. And we were like, guys, you've wasted so many people's time, so much time from people if you're only making this 20 minutes. Like, you've shot 60 hours of footage or some insane number of footage. You got to make it a feature. So that was right around when COVID happened. We did another Kickstarter and we got the like finishing funds for them to be able to make it into a feature. But it's gone through a few different permutations while they were going on. But I think, the goal with it was always like, we want to have a calling card that we can show to people being like, you've never seen the show. This is pretty much it in a nice little package. Like, you get the general idea of the show by watching this. And I think that has pretty much stayed the same. We want people who have never seen it to be able to watch it and love it, or people who are, diehard fans to be able to watch it and love it.
And they'll see how much work goes into the production of the show and how much of that stuff Connor's gonna put in his hair and beard to turn that white, and just how much it takes out of him. Him going shopping for prizes to give away to the audience, and it really does. Like I said earlier, the viewers will want to give Connor a big Wookiee hug, just seeing all of the work he puts into this.
Yeah, and I do want to ask, like, he's spraying stuff on his beard and he's like coughing. Is that like paint or is that actual hair stuff? I want to. It
is. Yeah. No, I wish it was paint. I wish I was like, oh, he's spray painting his head every week. No, it is. Scared. It's like, it's not hair dye, but it is like colored hairspray that people use. We did a show we did a month of shows in Edinburgh, Scotland last year. We did the Fringe Festival. Connor wrote a play for him and Griffin to do that is basically Waiting for Godot in space. And it's Watto and Baron Papanoida, which is the character that George plays in episode 3, gets stranded on a desolate planet and need to like figure out how to work together to get off. And
who are they waiting for?
Well, they're waiting to be rescued.
Oh, okay. They weren't waiting for any particular person?
No. They just need to get rescued. But the vibe of it is very good, though, So we did like 35 shows in a month. It was pretty much every day, at least one show every day. I think we had one day off the entire month. But Connor he was like, well, if we're doing that many, I'm going to kill myself if I have to spray my hair every single day. Like, it's going to be terrible for my health. What if I just dye it? Like, maybe I'll just dye it gray for the month of August. And we'll do that. And we found out you legally cannot dye someone's beard professionally in the state of New York. That is a real law. A hairstylist cannot legally dye someone's beard.
Why not?
Did they give you a reason?
I have no idea. We did not look into it because we think it's funnier not to know. Like, that's insane
so
law.
Weird.
Doing this so long, and Connor has said in the documentary that he'll go from doing the George Lucas talk show to another improv show. How does this man not burn out?
It's a great question. That has changed. He doesn't really do that too much anymore. That was like very much a pre-COVID thing where we were doing the show once a month, and now it's a little bit different because we're doing it at a different venue. We're doing it like bigger spaces, kind of. He does burn out. We all burn out, like there was a time during COVID where we had to take a couple months off because we had done it every week for at least 4 hours a week, and it was just like, it's exhausting, and I think even right now, we're taking a little bit of time off from doing shows because we did, I want to say 7 or 8 shows in the first 5 months of the year, which is a lot, You know, it's like to do a lot of travel shows and like going around with the doc in different places. So I think we're going to take a little bit of time just to like recuperate, recenter ourselves, and then, you know, go back and do some more live shows. So we all burn out, and but the shows are fun, you know? And I think that's what keeps it going, is like when we're up on that stage, we're having a good time. So
Yeah, behind the curtain, you can tell that he's really tired. But as soon as that curtain goes up, he's on stage. He's a firecracker.
It's the performer gene in him, you know. You get that, and you can fake it. You can fake it until you're actually having fun, and then it's easy. You know?
Then you see the audience out there, and they're having fun. Yeah. They came out here to see you, so you want to do the best show possible.
And they're giving you the energy.
Yeah,
for sure.
Have you ever thought about doing it at like Star Wars Celebration?
Look, not from lack of trying.
Really?
We've applied. It's not. We in London in 2023, whenever London was, I don't remember. We did Star Wars Minute. We did their panel there, because we've applied and we have not gotten accepted. And I think it is something where we cannot be officially endorsed by Lucasfilm. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to ruffle feathers higher up, which is totally fine, and I understand. But it has been something we'd love to do it. Anytime they want to have us, we will be happy to be there.
I mean, that's your audience right there.
Right? I know. Well, when it was in Anaheim in 2021, 22. Yeah, 22. So it was, because London was 2023. That's what it was. So in Anaheim, we did 2 shows in LA that week, and in London, we did 2 shows in London that week. So we didn't do it as part of the convention, but we did it in the same city, basically at the same time, in order to get all the nerds to come see us.
And I'm sure you had sold out crowds.
We did. They were both really fun. Yeah, the London shows were crazy because we got a lot of Star Wars people to do it because we're never in London. So it was like, we had Katie Cartwheel, who played Rio Durant in Solo. And Dave Chapman, who B2 Emo, and he was a BB-8 puppeteer. He's like a huge puppeteer. And then for the late show, we had Jerome Blake, who played a lot of characters in episode 1 and was a real handful. And people can go check out that show because it is a real interesting show. And we had this guy, Pierre Bohanna, who was a prop maker in episode 1 and also like built the bat suit for like the Dark Knight. Like he's like a very accomplished prop builder. And they're both fascinating, interesting, good shows. But I recommend people check out that Jerome one because it is.
Okay, add that to our show notes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, at this stage,
it's wild. Yeah.
At this stage, do people seek you out, or are you seeking others out, or is it a mixture of both?
I think it's a combo of both. We do a lot of touring shows. This year we did some in Seattle and Portland, and we did some LA shows and some New York shows. But when you go to different cities, like a lot of times we'll hear like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought you would come to Portland. Like it's so cool that you guys are here." Blah 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 blah. And it's like really nice to go see people in places that they just assumed they would never see us. So it's like fun doing those touring shows. But it is also still work, like we go to some cities and it's like harder to move tickets than you would think it would be. Like we went to Atlanta and had a great show. It was really, really fun, but like it wasn't full, and it's just like, I don't know why we could sell out Detroit, but not Atlanta. It's like one of those things where you never know how it's going to go. But it's, we can draw a pretty consistent crowd where we've gone so far. So it's fun, but also you got to do a little pushing sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, back to the documentary. What do you want viewers to get out of it? Out of George Lucas? I'm George Lucas, a Connor Ratliff story.
Yeah, I think I want people to, find out about the show. First of all, I think if you can go in watching this, having never seen the show before, I think it's an interesting introduction to seeing it. I also want people to, some people I think need to take it easier on George. I think the tide is shifted on that a little bit, especially recently. But I think, you weirdly, I think it's Alan Scherstl, who's a Village Voice film critic, says this in the movie, but he's like, I didn't know what to expect going into doing the show, but when I came out having like a much deeper appreciation and like fondness for George Lucas than I've ever had in my life, even though I didn't meet real George Lucas. Like, I still feel more fondly about George, which is very strange. Like, I almost consider George and Watto different people from Connor and Griffin, because I've spent so much time with George and Watto that, like, if someone was like, are you friends with George Lucas? Like, there's a little piece of me that says yes, even though I know that's insane. So I think if you watch this documentary, like, it's a feel good piece, but it's also like, it shows how hard it is to do live comedy, you know, and pre-COVID live comedy is even different than post-COVID live comedy. Like, it's a different vibe now, and it's harder to get people to come to shows now even than it was then. So it's, you know, it's an interesting little portrait of a comedy show that most people had not seen at that point. And I think if you live anywhere that is not a major metropolitan area that has like a bunch of comedy theaters, like, it's a fascinating look at what goes into something like that.
Well, post the pandemic, people get offended by the littlest things.
Sure.
So
Sure.
You see a lot of comedians going, I would love to host this show, but I'm deathly afraid if I say the wrong thing, I can be canceled.
Or tweet the wrong thing, or
Yes. But you know what? I think people just need to be more sensitive about other people's problems. And if you're saying rude stuff or like stuff that is like mean about certain people, it's like, you got to expect a little backlash. And if you can't handle the backlash, don't say the stuff, you know?
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Oh, by far, yes. But now people can't even say the racial stuff is not funny. In just, you know, that's in the rearview mirror. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
But just anything about, I can't even think of an example, because you see a lot of this stuff on YouTube or TikTok. People get offended by this. I was on an airplane and they wouldn't let my barking dog sit with me. I was so offended because they weren't considerate of my needs. Like, well, what about everybody else on the airline? That's
agree.
what I mean.
And you know what? We don't do enough barking dog airline comedy on the George Lucas Talk Show, and that's going to change. I can guarantee you that is going to change. We are going all in on barking dogs in 2024.
George Lucas on a plane. What happens?
Yes. I don't know. He's probably on his own plane. That's probably what happens.
Yes.
You'd never hear about it.
You get George Lucas, Indiana Jones, and snakes on a plane.
Oh, there you go.
That's a movie I want to see.
Indiana Jones and the Snakes on a Plane is a great title for an Indiana Jones movie.
Yes,
not Mace Windu with snakes on a plane.
No.
But we need Indiana Jones there.
Yes.
What I really love about this show is that it doesn't go to the easy comedy of the crude and sex jokes, the bathroom humor. That's what really appealed to us, because I don't know why that stuff is funny to some people, but not to us.
Yeah.
And when we saw the documentary, that was our springboard into the George Lucas Talk Show, which made us go, hey, you know what? Let's find some of these on YouTube. We watched one and another and another and another, because it was really funny stuff. And it never appealed to the bottom rung of comedy.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I think, you know, like, Connor has been doing improv for so long that he knows what he finds funny, and Griffin too. Griffin's been doing comedy for almost all of his life, like since he was a child. And I think that kind of stuff is just like kind of boring. You know, it's funny every so often if the hyper specific situation calls for it. We will go to lowbrow humor if we got to. You know, if something happens where we're like, okay, now's the time, let's do it. It's funny, we get it. But I think often we try to stay away from that because I don't know, it is a very stupid show. I'm not going to deny it's not a very stupid show, but I think we try to go for smart comedy usually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm curious, because now the George Lucas Talk Show has evolved since its inception in 2014. So where do you see the George Lucas Talk Show evolving into the future now?
Well,
especially after this documentary come out.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know because, you know, it started as a live show and then it became a live stream, and now it's sort of a hybrid of the two, where like we will still do live streams, but we do a lot more live shows and film them, and then I have to edit them and we put them on YouTube, you know? So it is like this weird like middle ground of like, it's kind of whatever we want it to be at this point, which is kind of the best situation. You know, we're not on any like schedule. We don't have to do a show a week or a show a month. If we want to wait 3 months in between a show or like do 3 shows a month, like totally fine. We can do whatever we want. You know, if a guest pops up that is like, I want to do the show, great. We can do a live stream tomorrow if we want. And I think that's probably where it will stay for at least the time being right now. Just like, you know, we all have our own projects that we do, and I'm on the West Coast now. I was in New York for a long time with them, but I'm in LA now, so it's like harder for me to go to New York to do a live show. But I'll still fly out if we're doing it. But it's nice to have the option of like, well, if Connor and I just want to do a live stream and Griffin doesn't want to do one, we can do that. You know, we do the last 3 years, I think we've done Oscar show live streams the night of the Oscars. And Griffin likes to watch the Oscars, so he does not do the Oscar show live streams, and that's totally fine. And we have fun doing it, you know, with us and whoever we can rope in to be a guest. So I think the answer is it's fluid, and that's rad, and that's great. And we don't have to rely on fulfilling any contracts and doing 10 shows a year or whatever it is, you know, like we have the freedom to just kind of do whatever we want. But it's been nice with the doc that, you know, it's been touring around to different festivals and different theaters, and at a few of them we've done live shows after the doc played, which I think gives the audience like a different perspective into watching the show, because they like know that they feel like they know the people up on stage because they just watched them for 90 minutes in the documentary, you know? So I'd be cool with more of that stuff, you know?
Yeah, it almost seems like Connor at some point was ready to give up, because it is a lot of work. But then that last, well, I don't want to give away the last moment, but then you realize, okay, this is why he's still doing the show. This is why he's putting himself through all that abuse and all that hair dye. Is because of this the end moment.
Of course.
And also the George Lucas talk show is expanding into other avenues, like the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace live reading that you just produced. Where you did a live reading of the script, and fans can find it on YouTube under the Naboo movie. This has an all-star cast, including Diana Lee Anasanto from Ahsoka and The Mandalorian, who plays Palpatine. Haley Joel Osment, Eric Bauza, who stole the show as Daffy Duck as Jar Jar Binks, Bobby Moynihan, Lorraine Newman, Tony Hale, and the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, Tawny Newsome.
Oh my goodness.
Great stuff.
So tell us about this iteration and how the George Lucas talk show really expanded to this spinoff.
Yeah, people can watch this at naboomovie.com. It's also on the George Lucas talk show YouTube page. That link will redirect you to there. But we're friends with the guys from Star Wars Minute, like I mentioned, and they reached out to me and said, you know, we've always wanted to do like a live reading of the script. Would you be down to help with that? And I don't think they imagined that it would become as like big as it did. You know, like we did it in like a 200-seat theater, and it was jam-packed and had hundreds of people live streaming it, which was amazing. And yeah, I think we just both thought, you know, it was a good idea to put, because I was working on it and they were working on it, and Connor makes an appearance in it, to put, you know, George Lucas Talk Show and Star Wars Minute presents the Naboo movie, a 25th anniversary, blah, 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 you know, because then, you know, name recognition helps. And I think once we got that cast locked in, which was a truly insane cast, and like, I'm so psyched the way it worked out, because I think you will agree that like people ask me who was my favorite person in it, and I'm like, it literally changes line by line who my favorite person is, because like there's so many people that are so funny in it, and like the way that like Tony Hale does Qui-Gon is so funny, but also Vic Michaelis doing Obi-Wan is like maybe my canonical young Obi-Wan in my head now, like because it's so funny the way they chose to read some of those lines. Yes,
she was great
they're
as
amazing.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, the gender bending to that, and the ballet scene of lightsaber
just
fighting.
Her taking this so seriously, that her seriousness was like Leslie Nielsen in Airplane.
Yes, yeah. It was so fun, and I'm so happy we did it. The plan is to do more of them. Hopefully soon. Hopefully, I'm literally finding a date right now for the other ones. That was what I was doing before I hopped on here. So hopefully we'll be doing Attack of the Clones soon. But yeah, it's something I'm extremely proud of. I'm very happy with how it turned out, and the reaction has only been great. And so many people are watching it on YouTube, which is really rad. And I'm psyched we didn't get shut down.
Yeah, no kidding. Also, I think it's really fun, the whole Star Trek Star Wars crossover with Tawny Newsome, who plays the main character in Lower Decks. Yeah. And now she's doing Padme, which was so great. And
she was so funny.
How did that come about? How did Tawny Newsome get on?
Yeah, I didn't know Tawny, but I had been trying to get her to do a bunch of shows for a while, and the timing just never worked out. And then the date happened to line up when she was free, and that's how a lot of these things work. You ask someone to do 20 things, and then they're like, yes, finally, this date works. I can do this date. This is perfect. And I think people were interested and enthusiastic about the idea in general, because doing a live read of a script is exciting, because obviously so many people know this movie so well that to do a new interpretation of it could be sacrilegious, but also could be very fun if it goes well. And it's just fun seeing other people interpret dialogue in different ways, Yeah,
and once again, it was done with such respect.
Oh, totally.
Because you're thinking, okay, what are they gonna do to this?
Yeah.
And even Eric Bauza, he did his Daffy Duck as Jar Jar Binks.
That was amazing.
Jar Jar Binks, he still did it with such love of the character. It was just, okay, what if Jar Jar had a Daffy Duck voice?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the thing I said to everyone beforehand was, I said, look, this movie gets critiqued a lot. It gets a lot of negative responses a lot of the times when people mention it, and I don't want that to be the case tonight. I want this to be a tribute to this movie. I want this to be a respectful, we're having a good time. We can it's obviously a very silly movie in some regards, and we can admit that and lean into that in some ways, but I don't want anyone to be reading this being like, this sucks. I don't want that attitude going into this. So as long as you're down to play and live in that world and treat this as if you're having a lot of fun doing it, then I want you to be a part of it. Which I think is the only way to do it, because I think if you're doing it being like, oh, this movie's stupid, I don't like it,
it wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have worked, and it's not fun, and I don't think anyone would have been excited to watch it. So
yeah, people trashing the Phantom Menace, been there, done that, get over it. It's 25 years later, and people are now respecting it, and it really comes to that pinnacle with your Naboo movie.
Yes,
That's
and
great.
the violinist was the piece de resistance.
Chrysanthi Tan is they're amazing. They're an amazing violinist. They have a great podcast called Star Wars Music Minute, I want to say is what it's called. And they go through the soundtracks 5 minutes at a time and analyze the music from all of the Star Wars movies. They're fantastic.
Wow.
And they were credited as John Williams.
I know, I love that. That's so great.
Was there anyone that you had wanted and it just didn't work out?
Well, I don't want to spoil it because we're working on some other ones and they might be able to do those other ones.
Ooh.
Okay.
You know what? This is the 46th anniversary of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh,
know.
Oh, God, I didn't even think about that. Oh, all right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what we do.
If you need help, you reach right out and we got you covered there.
Great.
Red robes in hand.
I would love to do all of them if we can. So we'll see. If people don't get sick of them, then I think we'll keep doing them,
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you do the next one in LA, we're definitely down to come.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were on our way to Houston when you were doing your show. But we saw the ads we've got to be there.
Yeah.
What date is it? It's
I know.
No.
We even have the Jar Jar Binks hat, which Richard,
I love it. I love the Jar Jar. I love that Ewok. I've been so tempted to buy that Ewok so many times. He looks great.
Yeah, you gotta wait for the sales. Gotta wait for the sales. But
the sales and a Disney employee. I have to have a Disney employee buy it for me. That's the trick. Amazing hat.
We saw someone in the front row of of the theater watching it.
Yes.
But also,
our Jar Jar obsession doesn't stop there. We also have.
What is that?
This is a backpack we got at Celebration like
a long time
ago.
Wow.
It won't hold anything more than a change purse.
Because most of it is like his nose.
Here's what I'll say. I'm honestly mad you showed me that because now I'm gonna have to find it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Love this so much.
But yeah, no, I mean, I love Phantom Menace. I was 7 when it came out, so I was like the perfect age for it, you know. And it's seeing it in the theater this year for the anniversary was like so fun, and people had such a good time watching it, and I was psyched. I feel like I don't want to say, but I feel like we were maybe like the biggest celebration of that movie outside of it being released in theaters. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's gotten the most traction out of most of the stuff for the anniversary. So I'm psyched for that.
That, and I feel like in Celebration 2019 in Chicago, when Ahmed Best
Ahmed Best
Hayden Christensen
Yes.
was brought on the stage, they got this huge standing ovation. I feel like that was the real turn of everyone's attitude toward the prequels and the Phantom Menace. Like that, it made me cry. I was like,
well, all those kids who were my age, you know, are the age now where they're going to these conventions, and like the kids who grew up on Clone Wars, like they're able to make their own decisions and go to events and like buy things now. And it's, you know, it is the changing tide, and it's been so great seeing Ahmed and Hayden and everyone be re-embraced again, you know, on the shows and online and at conventions that they're going to, and it's great. The Ahmed episode of George Lucas Talk Show is one of my favorites because he's just such a fascinating guy. And like, we did talk about Star Wars, but we also talked about so many other things. He's very into like Afrofuturism, and it's just like a truly like fascinating conversation. He's on for like 2 hours, and I feel like we got a lot of stories that I've never heard from him other places. So
and I'm so glad they're bringing him back as the Jedi Knight who saved Grogu.
Yeah.
And in the Lego special coming up too.
Oh, cool.
He's in that. Yeah.
Nice.
It's gonna be amazing.
He's got a bright future in Star Wars, and I'm so glad.
Yes.
Same with Hayden Christensen. If they can just get Jake Lloyd back.
I know. I hope he's doing okay.
His mom says that he's still a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And he's still on some hard times. And how can you go through life as a 9-year-old and getting all this dumped on you? That's gonna just
mess you up.
It's really
And his mom did say that all these issues he's had is not because of that. There's this in the family, this gene of mental instability. So she's very careful to tell everyone to say, no, don't blame Star Wars for this.
Totally. Yeah, no, I mean, I want the best for him, and I want him to stay healthy and as happy as he can, you know? So if that means him being reintroduced into things, amazing. And if they think he's up for that, that's amazing. But I just want the best for him. Jingle All the Way, another one of my favorite childhood movies.
Yeah.
And he's great in it. So.
And if you can't get Jake Lloyd for the Phantom Menace live reading, you got Haley Joel Osment, another child actor.
I know. Who also auditioned for it when he was a kid. You know?
That was our next question.
I figured he did.
He did. Yeah. So he was so good, and he was so good even if he didn't have that context of like, I auditioned for this, you know. But he's so funny, and I'm so happy that he works so much still and shows up in so many things. But I was psyched that he said yes. He's a guy who I'm friends with now, you know, and I've gotten to book for a lot of stuff, and I'm like really happy that he always says yes whenever I ask him to do things. And it's a cool, LA's a cool place, you know, cool, weird place.
Well, it's amazing when you can actually become friends with people that you've seen up on the big screen and always admired.
Yeah.
Now you're like, hey, I'm gonna call this person for lunch.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. It's a very weird career path and career trajectory, but I'm not mad about it. You know.
Not whatsoever. Now, I saw it hanging with Dr. Z at the same Typewriter Dynasty Theater where you did the Phantom Menace reading.
Yeah.
This is where Dana Gould does a retro-style talk show as Dr. Zaius. But now, did Connor start a trend where actors play celebrities and host talk shows?
It's a great question. I don't know. I don't know when that started. I don't know when he started playing Zaius, but I would love that.
Only a couple of years ago.
I would love that. Any weird talk show is okay in my book. You know, it's not a even if it's an homage. I think that's the highest form of flattery. There's room for all of us. You know.
That's true. Definitely. And it brings out interesting conversations.
Yep.
As we've watched.
And like George Lucas, Connor Ratliff is a trendsetter.
It's true. And look, all talk shows need a booker, and I'm very available. So
nice.
All right. Then you're hired if you can get us Mark Hamill and George Lucas for our next episode.
And John Williams.
Great.
Yeah,
if you can.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll work on it. I booked Mark did the show ASCAT that I do at UCB. He did it in New York a couple years ago, and it was insane. It was insane. Getting him to come to a dirty grocery store basement to come to a comedy show is never knew it was on my bucket list until it happened.
Wow.
That would seem right up his alley. He loves that kind of stuff.
Oh, he loved it. He's
a nerd. Fun. He's a nerd like all of us. I love it.
Yeah, a fan and a nerd. Now, when people want to see I'm George Lucas, a Connor Ratliff Story, when is it available once again, and where can they go?
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this now, it's available now. June 11th is the first day that it's going to be available on I'mGeorgeLucas.com. Let me triple confirm that is correct because I want to make sure. Yes, I'mGeorgeLucas.com has all the info. It has, our IMDb page, our Letterboxd page. If you watched the movie and enjoyed it, shout us out on Letterboxd. But it'll have all the ways that you can rent it. And there will be more ways coming up soon. So keep an eye on that. I'm vehemently pushing for a physical release. Desperately want that Blu-ray. So hopefully that'll happen soon too.
Okay, and get it on Disney Plus. They'll be more than happy to show something like this. A disturbance in the Force.
Yes.
Awesome.
On their doorstep. Well, Patrick, thank you once again for talking with us and sharing the stories. And we have to tell everyone this is the documentary of the year. You must see this, and it is so good, so funny, and best of all, it gives respect where respect is due.
Yeah, we love him. We love the guy. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you all, and may the Force be with you.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout-out. Who was photobombed? Shout-out. Who was shared a post? Shout-out.
Skywalkers, every month we want to pay homage to our treasured Skywalking Force. This is you. This is our Patreon, and you are the reason that we are here today, 10 plus years after we started. So huge thanks go out to Anthony Kakias,
Blessed Cheesemaker,
Bryn McKinnon,
Carl Fox,
Chickafent,
Christopher Marino,
Courtney Turkel,
Dale Erdman,
Dan Boris,
Darren Irvine,
Dave Kerwin,
Don Glover,
Derek Beebe,
Garrett Sessions,
Glenn Stein,
Jennifer Cole,
Jeremy and Heather Hunt,
John Liang.
Are you doing the announcer voice?
Yes, I am.
I love it. John Zancanaro,
Julie Caruana,
Julie Gildersleeve,
Cato Toby Ryder,
Kelly Turkel,
Laura Bryce,
Leanne Nelson,
Meredith Duckworth,
Michael Corbett,
Michael Nip,
Mike Ward,
Nancy Steinman,
Patrick Pine,
Patty Hammond,
Patty Nazarian,
Peter and Norma Heitman,
Reynold Gobey,
Scott Hume,
Robert Avila,
Scott Carmichael,
Tim Knight,
Wesley Meadcombs,
and
Wynn Patterson. Got lightheaded after that one.
Yay, no kidding. That's me.
It's fun when these Skywalkers in the Sky Chat can go, hey, there I am. That's me. I'm right here.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone once again for supporting the show over the last 10 years. We really, really appreciate it. The Libsyn hosting
Hosting fees, the website fees, live appearances, travel, all that stuff.
It takes a village of Skywalkers to put on a show for 10 years.
Yes.
Well, that wraps up episode 468 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We want to thank Patrick Cotnoir for telling us about his new documentary. I'm George Lucas, a Connor Ratliff Story. And if this is out as you hear this on video on demand. You must go and see this. And we want to thank all the Skywalkers who listen every week, who watch the live recording of our wraparounds with no notice whatsoever. You show up, and that speaks volumes.
Yeah, there's like nearly 20 of you, so thank you, Skywalkers. Now, do you have things that you want to share? Well, we do. Join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. And if it's a different day, we'll let you know in advance. And we share things that we've done the past week. We update you on our live appearances. And we also invite you, Skywalkers, on to come on and share something you've done or something you just added to your collection. For example, this week, we're going to learn all about
Julie Gildersleeve's
National Kiss a Wookiee Day. Yes.
Well, you can kiss a Wookiee any day of the month.
It's all month, yes. Yeah, so we are excited to learn about that. And if you want to watch those back, just head to the live streaming section of our YouTube and you can watch those back as well.
All right. Now, are you interested in our books? Autographed copies of Today in Star Wars History, Part 1 and 2, and Skywalking Through My Fandom, the interactive notebook. They are available now from skywalkingthrough.neverland.com/book or any of our live appearances.
Yeah, and speaking of, there's one this week coming up June 16th, which is Father's Day. We are going to be in Griffith Park at Carrollwood Barn from 11 a.m. to about 2 p.m. Mm-hmm. But that first, what is it?
A half hour, from 11 to 11:30, give or take a few minutes. We're going to do a live panel with Bambi Moe, who was on episode 460, and she was the music supervisor over at the Disney Studios.
Yeah. So not only are we going to do that, you'll learn more about her and her book and her work. You'll do some fun trivia with us. And then also it's Carrollwood Barn, which Walt Disney had in his backyard. It's been moved to Griffith Park, but it's a museum there. You learn all about Walt Disney's life. It's amazing.
Yeah, come on over. It's sure to be chaotic.
All right. Would you like to support Skywalking Through Neverland? Well, you can support us through the Skywalking Force, which is our Patreon. Get shout outs once a month on the show. Get seen in our credits on every YouTube video that we do. And the Skywalking Force also has access to bonus content in the form of our Zoom discussions on past Disney Plus shows. And they will also get a coupon code to use for our books. This bonus content begins at only $5 a month. You can head to skywalkingforce.com, have a look at the options, and thank you once again to those 40 plus of you who are already part of the Skywalking Force.
Now, we want to thank our sponsor once again, Small World Vacations, for their support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park or a Disney cruise? Well, you can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so head over there and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you. You can also reach out to our good friends Kelly and Courtney Turkel and see what Small World Vacations did for them on their latest Disney cruise.
That's right.
Came back with glowing reviews.
Yes. Now, get ready, Skywalkers. This is your part. We are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet.
Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
The Neverland Clubhouse,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
the Max Effects Podcast,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows Collectopolis and
Today in Star Wars History. You can also find us on social media. We are at Skywalking Pod, and you can join our Facebook group. So search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland, and also search YouTube for Skywalking Through Neverland. Grab someone's phone that you know, and just hit subscribe. for funsies.
Yeah, think of it as doing them a favor.
That's right. You can also email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Now, Inside Out 2 comes out this week, and if you see it and you want to share like your thoughts on it, we'd love to hear that. We'll be covering Inside Out 2 maybe on things we want to share, but maybe on the next episode, we're not sure yet. But we're going to see it tomorrow night, so we're very excited. And Inside Out was one of my favorite Pixar films, so I'm eager to see what they do for number 2.
Mm-hmm. It's a sequel. It's Disney, so it's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
All right, now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And
always remember
to wear your Jar Jar Binks paraphernalia.
And Neverland on Alderaan.
All right, here we go. Who would you say your... Hold on, sorry. Phone's ringing.
Oh, of course. Okay.
This should be private. Right? This feels like it should be private.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.